Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for being here. As well as the Mayor said, yesterday obviously was a very difficult day for our community. Certainly our hearts go out to the families and the friends of the victims of these tragic events that occurred yesterday. For reasons that we may never understand, Roderick Dantzler took 7 lives yesterday at 2 locations in our city. The victims have been identified as Jennifer Marie Herron, who we believe was an ex-girlfriend. She's 29 years old. Camry Deanne Herron Dantzler, 12 years old, daughter of Jennifer and Roderick. Rebecca Lynn Herron, Jennifer's mother, 52 years old. I mentioned Camry was 12 years old. Then Thomas Herron, Jennifer's father, 51. Those were the victims that were found on Brainell Court, Northeast. On Plainfield Avenue, we've identified Kimberly Ann Emkins, 11 years old. Amanda Renee Emkins, 27 years old. And Marissa Lynn Emkins, actually, I'm sorry, she is 10 years old, and actually Kimberly, I believe, is the someone who previously dated. So I don't have her age with me right now. Perhaps one of our command officers could get that for you, but I'm sorry. Kimberly previously dated Roderick Dantzler, but our investigators have learned that for some reason yesterday, Roderick Dantzler went out hunting down ex-girlfriends and at least one other woman that he had a long-term friendship with, and tried to kill them. On Jennifer Herron, one of the victims on Brainell Court, was an ex-girlfriend with whom he had a child in common. Their daughter, Camry Dantzler, was also identified as one of the victims, along with Rebecca and Thomas Herron, Jennifer's parents. On Plainfield, as I said earlier, Kimberly Emkins was an ex-girlfriend. However, investigators believe that was an older relationship without any recent contacts between Kimberly and Roderick Dantzler. The other victims on Plainfield, Amanda Emkins, Kimberly's sister, and Marissa Emkins, Amanda's daughter. Just before 3 p.m., our 911 center received a call from a man who had encountered a subject that was driving a tan Lincoln Town Car, the vehicle that we believe Roderick Dantzler was in. He was in the area of Granville and Martha when he had a conflict with an individual that was driving that vehicle. That subject then fired several shots at him. He was struck, I believe, in the face, causing a non-life-threatening injury. At about 7:02, a woman who identified herself as a longtime friend of Dantzler contacted the police department and said that she saw Roderick Dantzler in a vehicle following her. She described the vehicle as a white Suburban and said that she was being followed into the downtown area. Near the corner of Division and Fulton, Dantzler pulled up next to her and fired one shot. Officer Luke Naxum, who was responding to the 911 call, had gotten to that location. He immediately rammed Dantzler's vehicle and ended up, Dantzler at that point fired several shots at him. Officer Naxum returned fire. Neither of them was injured during that exchange. Dantzler fled east from the scene with other officers in pursuit. The pursuit continued on city streets, with Dantzler again firing at pursuing officers. Officers returned fire in the area of Lydia and eastern Northeast, and other officers deployed stop sticks or spike strips in the area of Lion and Diamond. The stop sticks punctured at least 2 of the tires on the vehicle Dantzler was driving. However, he continued to flee. Eventually, Dantzler was able to get onto I-196 and headed westbound. He then went on to northbound US 131. We had officers that had deployed themselves along the route. We had officers at Leonard and at Ann Street, who had, one of them had come up from Ann Street and protect himself along the barrier there. Both were able to fire 1 round each from a shotgun at the vehicle as it passed by. Obviously, it was going, we believe, about 40, 50 miles an hour at that point. We do not believe that Dantzler was injured during that exchange. He continued to flee with officers in pursuit, and ended up eventually getting onto I-96. While he was going eastbound, he actually crossed over the median and went into the westbound lanes, driving against opposing traffic. As officers continued to pursue him, his vehicle eventually went off the road and into a wooded area and struck a stand of trees that was heavy vegetation. At that point, he got out of the vehicle and fled on foot. Officers were in pursuit. He quickly forced entry into a home that was just off the expressway, and once he entered the house, there were several shots fired. He immediately called our 911, or very shortly after, called our 911 center and told them that he was in the house and that he did have hostages. With the officers pursuing, they quickly set up a perimeter on the home. Were able to determine that he was there. Additional resources were brought in. Our special response team, our hostage negotiators, they began to communicate with Roderick Dantzler. He eventually agreed to release one of the hostages. Initially, we were under the understanding that there were 2 hostages inside of the house. We later learned that there was a third person in there who had hidden in a closet. The person was a visitor to the home. And after releasing the one hostage, 53-year-old female, there was conversations between the gentleman that was still at the scene, who was, my understanding, hard of hearing, and was agitating the suspect, Mr. Dantzler, that he was not able to hear the person well, and it was agitating him. At that point, the other victim came out of the closet so that she was able to communicate with Dantzler at that point. And the negotiations continued on, obviously, for several hours, and then unfortunately, as time went on, Mr. Dantzler placed the firearm up to his own head and took his own life. So, again, as the mayor said, we certainly are very grateful for all the support that we received. Certainly, again, I just repeat it, but the Michigan State Police, tremendous amount of resources, their helicopters, other personnel, the Sheriff's Department assisted us almost from the beginning on this event. We had offers of help from our federal partners, FBI, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, U.S. Marshal's Office assisted. As was said, Kalamazoo Department of Public Safety certainly offered their help. Kenwood Police Department, the Wyoming Police Department, Rockford Police Department, the Walker Police Department, and of course we also had the assistance of medical personnel from AMR, and then also the Grand Rapids Fire Department that were there both for medical, and then in case there were some chance that there might be a fire at the residence. So again, very grateful. Tragic event, and but again, as I said last night, I am extremely proud of the Grand Rapids Police Department, of my command staff that is here today. I think they performed admirably. The officers that placed themselves in harm's way in order to bring this person into custody, I think, again, performed admirably. Our negotiators were skillful. Unfortunately, the outcome is not what we would have liked, but we are certainly extremely pleased that 3 of the hostages that were in there were able to be taken out safely. So in the end, a very difficult day for us. So with that, we'll